Hello, welcome to Con Corner. I'm Tina, and today I'm going to make chili con carne. Paul found a recipe and wanted me to try. I'm going to start with my chilies. I'm using sweet chilies for this. I'm not using any hot ones. You can use hot ones if you want, but I've got several different kinds of sweeteners that I'm going to use. I'm going to use those, and then I have these. These are they're just called red chili pods. They're from New Mexico. And I have these that are a different type. I think these are probably a dried poblano. Well, they're not, because that's not a poblano, but alright. I'm going to take my seeds out of them and the stems off, and then I'm going to put them in a pan, break them up. The reason I'm taking the seeds out is I don't want them to be hot. This isn't supposed to be hot, it's supposed to be mild. The version that I'm making. If you watch my videos very long, you know why. I actually seem to be getting more sensitive to the heat as I get older, and it's only from the capsicum peppers. I can eat horseradish, and I can eat hot Chinese mustard, and it doesn't bother me. It's just it's only these only these peppers with the capsicum, and tearing them up. There we go. I'm not saving these seeds or anything, it's just easier for me to dump them into this bowl so I can throw them away. I tend to not get them all over everywhere that way. See, these peppers are kind of, some of them are kind of leathery and some of them have been around for a while. These are some sweet poblanos. These are some that I grew and dried. Use a couple of those. By using the different types of chilies, we get, even though they're all mild, you know, we get the little difference in nuances of their flavors, and that's what makes a good chili blend, is to have that have those nuances in there. Alright, and then got a couple of chipotles here. Just I'm going to take the seeds out of these before. I've had these in the freezer. I opened a can of them, didn't need it all. And so then I just stuck them in the freezer until I would need them. Scrape the seeds off. Chipotles are a smoked ripe jalapeno. Jalapenos, we usually eat them when they're green, but they as they ripen, they turn red and they get a sweet flavor. Still hot, but it's sweet. And once they're red, then if they're smoked, they were called a chipotle. And there we go. All right. All right, I'm going to put all of those in some beef broth. And I'm going to cook them for about 15 minutes. This is some of my broth that I canned. And it's condensed, so each one of these each one of these pints is the equivalent of a quart of commercial broth. Because mine's so condensed and thick, so I'll add some water. As we go along. Alright, I'm going to start cutting up my meat. I'm going to put you guys on hold while this cooks. Alright, what I'm doing now, I've already done some. What I've done is I've heated some grease in my pan, whatever fat you want to use, and I'm dropping my cubes of beef into the pan. I'm just going to cook it on that one side and let it brown pretty well, and then so I've pulled out the first batch that I put in there. And because we want to get it brown, but it won't brown if it's got that the broth, you know, drawing out of it. So with one layer like that, we can get it going into the hot skillet. We can get it brown. I'm saving my fat and my bones. I'll put these back in the freezer, and then sometime later this year, I'll pull all these bones and fat out of the freezer, and I'll render tallow from the fat, and brown the bones and use them in the meat to make my stock. The tallow is a really good, a good fat to use. I've been trying to go back to using these natural meat fats mainly because I couldn't find any shortening that didn't have soybean oil in it. And so I started using lard. And then I realized, you know, fats have gotten very expensive, and I was emptying out a cooking pan one day where I had cooked some beef, and I thought, gosh, I hate to waste all of that good fat. And beef fat is very good for frying in, and good for some other things too. It's healthy for your skin. So I rendered out my beef fat, and now that's what I do. You know, when I was growing up, we always saved our pork fat, but we never saved beef fat, and but nowadays we really can't afford to let any of our waste oils go to waste. We have to find some other use for them. A long time ago, of course, you would have poured it over the dog's food each day. You know, whatever your frying fat was that you weren't going to save. But we don't feed our animals that way. And of course, Paul and I don't have animals, so we don't have anybody to give those to. All right, we're going to let that cook. Set that aside. Put this over here. My dad gave us this meat. He raises a beef at a time, one or two, you know, a calf at a time, and then has it butchered a couple of times a year. and He has blessed us with this meat. So it seems like we're being spendthrift. We're not. We have it, and so it's important to eat it since it's in the freezer. But we do appreciate the blessing, and we know how blessed we are. This is something that if you can, you know, if you have the space, that's a good way to do it. What he does a lot of times is he'll raise the beef, and when he butchers it, he'll sell half of it in order to pay his cost of processing. So that's something to keep in mind. If you have a couple of acres that, you know, you have to buy the feed for them and all, but that way you know that you know what you're getting, and can be a way to have your own hand-raised beef. All right, my peppers have been stewing there for about 15-20 minutes, and so now what I'm going to do, when my meat is done, I'm going to let me pull that one over. Didn't get a big enough fold. Now, I'm going to chop some onions. Let's see. First I want to, wait a minute. First I want to get my my immersion blender and blend up those peppers. All right. Now, before I do that, oops, I'm going to put these chopped onions in here. I took the meat out of the pan, and I'm putting my onions in there. I'm going to let them be cooking while I'm working on this. There we go. Alright. I hope this is a little bit better with the color certainly seems better with our new camera, where the color was always off, it seemed like. I try to use plenty of lights. I've got some shop lights up around. And alright, now this is where my immersion blender comes in. I'm going to just put it down in there. Okay, got those peppers all blended up. There we go. Now then, let me bring my onions back over here. All right. Oops. Turned it all the way over and off. All right, my onions are cooking. Now I'm going to add 4 cloves of garlic. I actually have, well, there's those 2 little tiny cloves. I felt sad for them in there, so I'm going to go ahead and include them too. I'm sure that those 2 little things aren't going to mess up this recipe. Use my... There we go. I got the electric brake controller put on my car today, and the plug for the lights, so that we can I can pull the trailer now. So now I have to learn how to pull it and to back it up and those kinds of things. So we're pretty excited on our travel trailer, our camper trailer. So in a week or two, when we have another warm day, Paul and I'll get out there and we'll practice. I'll drive it around town here, up and down our 3 streets, and learn how to motivate with it, and then we'll get to take it out and try camping it. Oops. camping in it. I want garlic everywhere. I'm going to smell like garlic. Got it in my hair. There we go. There we go. Alright. Those last little ones. I planted in the fall. Someone gave me some heirloom garlic that is local to this particular area, to this town. It's one of those things that everybody in town has got some in their yard, and they say it's wonderful, and I got some starts of it, so I'm excited this spring to be able to gather some and try it. Alright, I'm going to let, now while these are cooking, let's see here, I'm going to add a half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Tablespoon of cumin or comino. A quarter teaspoon of allspice. I bought some more allspice. Y'all may remember when I made my ketchup the other day, I didn't have any more ground allspice, so I had to grind up some whole ones, and I didn't grind them fine enough, and so you can tell that they're in my ketchup. It's not bad, it's still edible, but it's not what not what we wanted. All right, and 2 teaspoons of oregano. Okay. All right, now then. Alright, now I'm going to add meat back in here. Oh, that's got a lovely flavor. Yum, yum, yum. Smells wonderful. Okay, and now I'm going to add my chili mixture. Alright. Alrighty, now I'm going to bring this back to a boil, reduce the heat, and let it simmer for 3 hours. And then I'll be back. Alrighty, now I've let it cook for 3 hours, and our meat is so tender it'll fall apart when you push it with your spoon. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a couple of tablespoons of Masa Harina, which is corn masa, and I'm using Quaker brand, but you can use whatever brand you have. If you don't have masa, if you live somewhere where you can't get it, you could use cornmeal. It would be okay in this dish. It's just to thicken it a little. This is an old-fashioned recipe, chili con carne, and it's the forerunner of Texas red chili. But of course, on the prairie, they did not have ground beef. They used chopped beef. I've read stories during the early times in Texas, during the pioneer times, where vegetables were what was rare. They would eat, whatever vegetables grew wild, a few greens, some cactus, things like that. But that 90% of the diet was meat in parts of Texas. When the Spanish arrived, they of course brought with them the horse, and they also brought cattle, and those cattle left to their own devices for 100 or 200 years, just developed. That's where the Longhorns came from, but they were huge herds, and so it was quite easy for people to go out and get a beef instead of, and of course there wasn't always water to grow with, because Texas has always had a drought type climate from most of our area, so it's always been dry. All right, now see, I've thickened that with a couple of tablespoons. It's just perfect. And now I'm going to dish it up. Put some in a bowl here. Oh, it's pretty stuff. The peppers were really good. Using the sweet peppers, the mild ones, made a big difference. And of course, like I said, you can put the hot ones in if you want, but and not having the seeds in there helped them to be sweeter than it would have been, because the seeds have a little bit of bitterness in them. Put some chopped onion and some sharp cheddar cheese. Alrighty. And we will serve it with some nice warm flour tortillas. Let me bring it over here and I'll show you up close. Alright. Alright, there we go. Nice bowl of the original Texas red. Yum yum. Alright, thanks a bunch. Hope you guys will enjoy this. If you do, I hope you'll give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe. Thanks. Bye.